What if your greatest enemy isn't the world around you, but the voice inside your head? The one whispering doubts, urging you to quit, or lulling you into comfort when you're meant to rise. Welcome to ZenLight 8, where we dive deep into Stoic philosophy to uncover the truth. The only battle that truly matters is you versus you. In this video, we'll explore how to conquer your inner fears, forge unshakable self-belief, and become the strongest version of yourself, one choice at a time. Let's get started. The enemy within. Imagine standing at the edge of your dreams, the life you've always wanted just within reach. The path is there, clear and waiting, but something stops you. Not a wall, not a storm, not another person. It's a whisper, a quiet, familiar voice inside your head that says, "You're not ready. You're not enough. Why even try?" That voice isn't some distant enemy plotting your downfall. It's you. The greatest battle you'll ever fight isn't against the world. It's against the version of yourself that doubts, hesitates, and clings to safety when you were born to soar. The Stoics, those ancient philosophers who wrestled with the human soul, knew this truth better than anyone. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." A reminder that the chains holding us back are forged not by life's challenges, but by our own minds. The enemy within is cunning, relentless, and deeply personal. But here's the good news. It's a battle you can win, not with weapons or wealth, but with awareness, courage, and the daily choice to rise above. This inner enemy doesn't storm into your life with banners waving or trumpets blaring. It's subtle, slipping into your thoughts like a shadow at dusk. It's the moment you hit snooze on your alarm, convincing yourself that 5 more minutes of sleep won't hurt. It's the hesitation before you speak up in a meeting, the fear that your ideas aren't good enough. It's the way you scroll through your phone for hours, avoiding the project that could change your life because starting feels too hard. The Stoics understood that this enemy thrives in the quiet corners of your mind, where no one else can see it. It's not loud or aggressive. It's patient. It waits for the moment when you're tired, stressed, or just comfortable enough to let your guard down. And that's when it strikes, not with force, but with excuses. "You can do it tomorrow," it whispers. "You've done enough for today." But every time you listen, you give it power. Every time you obey, you let it shape who you are. Picture a young woman named Emily, sitting at her kitchen table late at night, staring at a blank laptop screen. She dreams of writing a novel, a story that's burned in her heart for years. But every time she tries to start, that inner voice creeps in. What if it's terrible? What if no one reads it? What if you fail? She closes her laptop, tells herself she'll try again tomorrow, and goes to bed. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and the novel remains unwritten. Emily's story isn't unique. It's the story of countless people who let the enemy within win, not because they lack talent, but because they lack awareness. The Stoics would tell Emily what they tell all of us. The fear you feel isn't the problem. It's real, it's human, and it will always be there. The problem is letting it decide your actions. The problem is mistaking that voice for truth instead of questioning it with relentless curiosity. What makes this battle so hard is that the enemy within knows you better than anyone. It's been with you since you were a child, collecting every moment of doubt, every rejection, every time you felt less than enough. It uses your own history against you, weaving a story that feels so real you don't even think to challenge it. But here's where the Stoics offer a lifeline. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who observes them. You are the one who chooses whether to believe them or to fight back. Imagine a courtroom in your mind, where every doubt is a witness on the stand. Your job isn't to silence it. That's impossible. Your job is to cross-examine it. Why do you think you'll fail? What evidence do you have? What's the worst that could happen if you try? This act of questioning isn't just philosophy, it's power. It's the moment you stop being a prisoner of your own mind and start becoming its master. Think about someone like Michael Jordan, a name every American knows. He wasn't born the greatest basketball player of all time. He was cut from his high school varsity team, told he wasn't good enough. That could have been the end of his story, the moment his inner enemy won. But Jordan didn't listen. He practiced relentlessly, not because he felt fearless, but because he refused to let doubt define him. Every missed shot, every early morning in the gym was a blow against the voice that said he couldn't. He didn't silence it, he outworked it. That's the Stoic way. It's not about feeling confident every day. It's about acting despite the fear. It's about proving to yourself, through action, that you are stronger than your weakest thoughts. This battle isn't won in a single day. It's fought in the small, unglamorous moments when no one's watching. It's the choice to get out of bed when you're exhausted, to write one sentence when you don't know where to start, to take one step when every fiber of your being wants to stay still. The Stoics called this discipline a daily practice, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Your mind is a muscle, and every time you push past hesitation, you strengthen it. Every time you choose action over avoidance, you chip away at the enemy's power. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. It's about waking up each day and saying, I will not let my fears decide my future. That's where transformation begins, not in grand gestures, but in the quiet courage of showing up for yourself. The beauty of this fight is that it's yours alone. No one else can fight it for you, but no one else can take your victory away. The world can throw obstacles in your path, bills to pay, relationships to navigate, dreams that feel out of reach, but none of those are your true enemy. They're just the terrain. The real battle is how you respond. Do you let your mind spiral into worry, or do you ground yourself in what you can control? Do you let procrastination steal your time, or do you take one small step forward? The Stoics believed that freedom lies in this choice, and they were right. When you learn to face the enemy within, you unlock a strength that no external force can shake. You become someone who doesn't just survive life's challenges. You thrive through them. This inner war is the foundation of everything else. It's why the Stoics didn't waste time chasing external validation or fleeting pleasures. They knew that true power comes from mastering yourself first. And that mastery starts with a single deliberate choice. A choice you'll face again and again, every day of your life. It's the choice to act, to rise, to be more than your doubts. And that choice, as simple as it sounds, is the spark that lights the fire of your potential. But how do you make that choice consistently when the weight of life feels heavy and the path feels unclear? That's where the Stoics offer their next lesson, one that transforms choice from a burden into a superpower, the weight of choice. Every morning, as the first light creeps through your window, you stand at a crossroads. It's not marked by signs or grand declarations. It's quiet, almost invisible. Yet in that fleeting moment, you hold the power to shape your entire day, your character, your life. Will you roll over, hit snooze, and let the day slip into the haze of distraction? Or will you rise, plant your feet on the ground, and claim the moment as yours? The Stoics, those timeless guides of the human spirit, knew this truth like the back of their hands. Epictetus, a man born into slavery yet freer than most, taught us a simple, unshakable principle. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Every choice you make, no matter how small, is a brushstroke on the canvas of who you are becoming. The battle of you versus you isn't fought in some distant arena. It's fought right here, right now, in the weight of every decision you carry. This weight isn't always heavy in the way you'd expect. It's not always about choosing between right and wrong, success or failure. Sometimes it's the choice to sip coffee and scroll through your phone, letting notifications steal your focus, or to sit in silence and plan your day with intention. It's the choice to binge another episode when you promised yourself you'd read, or to open that book and feed your mind instead. These moments seem trivial, barely worth noticing, but they're not. They're the threads weaving the fabric of your character. Every time you choose distraction over discipline, you cast a vote for a weaker version of yourself. Every time you choose action over hesitation, you build a stronger one. The Stoics didn't see choice as a burden, they saw it as a gift. It's the one thing no one can take from you, the one place where you are always in control. Consider a man named David, a father of two in a small American town. He works a demanding job, comes home exhausted, and dreams of starting his own business. Every night, he sits on his couch, torn between watching TV to unwind and working on his business plan. The TV is easier. It's instant relief, a way to numb the stress of the day. But every time he chooses the couch over his desk, he feels a quiet pang of regret. It's not loud or dramatic, but it's there, like a pebble in his shoe. One evening, he remembers something his grandfather used to say, "You don't get the life you want, you get the life you build." That night, he turns off the TV, opens his laptop, and writes one paragraph. It's not much, but it's a start. That single choice, small as it seems, shifts something inside him. It's not just about the business plan, it's about proving to himself that he can choose his future over his fatigue. That's the Stoic way, recognizing that every choice is a brick in the foundation of your life. The beauty of choice is that it's always yours, even when life feels unfair. The Stoics knew the world doesn't play favorites. It hands you setbacks, heartbreaks, and curveballs without warning. You might lose your job, face rejection, or watch your plans crumble. These things aren't in your control, and that's okay. What's in your control is how you respond. Do you let anger consume you when someone cuts you off in traffic? Or do you take a deep breath and let it go? Do you spiral into despair when a door closes? Or do you start looking for a window? Epictetus would remind you that the event itself is neutral. It's your reaction that gives it meaning. When you choose to respond with clarity instead of chaos, you're not just navigating the moment, you're sculpting your soul. This isn't about being perfect. The Stoics weren't chasing flawless lives. They were chasing honest ones. They knew you'd stumble, that some days you'd choose the easy path and regret it. But they also knew that every new moment brings a new choice. Picture a woman named Sarah, who struggled with anxiety her whole life. She'd wake up each morning paralyzed by what-ifs, her mind racing with worst-case scenarios. One day, she stumbled across a Stoic idea: focus only on what you can control. It sounded simple, almost too simple, but she tried it. When her mind spiraled, she'd pause and ask, "What can I do right now?" Sometimes it was as small as making her bed or writing a to-do list. Other times, it was facing a fear head-on, like speaking up at work. Each choice was a tiny rebellion against her anxiety, a way of saying, "You don't own me." Over time, those choices didn't just calm her mind, they built her confidence. She wasn't cured, but she was stronger. That's what choice does. It transforms you not all at once, but drop by drop, like water carving a canyon. The weight of choice is heavy because it's real. It's not a game you can pause or a test you can skip. Every decision compounds, building momentum towards strength or fragility. The Stoics believed that life is a series of these moments, each one asking, who are you going to be? Not tomorrow, not next year, right now. When you choose to show up, to act with intention, you're not just checking off a task. You're honoring the person you want to become. You're telling yourself, I'm capable, I'm worthy, I'm in charge. And that's where resilience is born, not in avoiding the hard moments, but in meeting them with courage. The world can be loud, chaotic, and unfair, but in the quiet space of your choices, you hold the power to rise above it all. You hold the power to become unstoppable. But what happens when the spark to make those choices feels dim? When you wake up and the fire of motivation is nowhere to be found. That's where the Stoics draw a line in the sand, showing us that the real strength lies not in fleeting feelings, but in something far more enduring. Discipline over motivation. The world loves a good hype song. It's why stadiums blast music before a big game. Why social media is flooded with clips of fiery speeches and quotes that make your heart race. We chase that rush, that electric jolt of motivation that makes us feel like we can conquer anything. But here's the hard truth. Motivation is a fair-weather friend. It shows up when the sun's shining, when you're well-rested and life feels good. But the moment clouds roll in, when you're tired, stressed, or doubting yourself, it's gone. The Stoics, those masters of inner strength, saw through this illusion long ago. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor who carried the weight of an empire, wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being." He wasn't waiting for a burst of inspiration to rule a nation. He was leaning on something deeper, something unbreakable: discipline. In the battle of you versus you, discipline is the fire that burns when motivation fades, the steady hand that guides you when feelings falter. Motivation is like a summer breeze, pleasant when it's there, but you can't build a life on it. It's the thrill you feel after watching a TED Talk, the surge of energy when you set a New Year's resolution. But by February, when the gym is empty and the resolutions are forgotten, what's left? Most people think they've failed because they ran out of willpower, but the Stoics would disagree. They'd say you were never meant to rely on willpower alone. Willpower is finite, like a battery that drains with every decision. Discipline, on the other hand, is infinite. It's not about how you feel, it's about what you do. It's the choice to move forward, even when your body aches, your mind wanders, or your heart's not in it. It's the quiet promise you make to yourself, I said I would, so I will. Think about a nurse named Rachel, working long shifts in a busy hospital. She's on her feet for hours, juggling patients, paperwork, and her own exhaustion. There are days when she wakes up dreading the alarm, when the idea of another 12-hour shift feels like climbing a mountain. Motivation is long gone by 6 a.m., but Rachel shows up. She makes her coffee, puts on her scrubs, and walks into the hospital with a smile. Why? Not because she feels inspired, but because she's made a commitment to her patients, to her purpose, to herself. Every step she takes, every chart she updates, is an act of discipline. It's not glamorous, and no one's handing her a trophy for it. But those small, consistent actions are what make her exceptional. The Stoics would nod in approval, because they knew that greatness isn't born in moments of passion. It's forged in moments of perseverance. Discipline is what separates those who dream from those who do. It's the difference between wanting to run a marathon and actually crossing the finish line. Picture a guy named Alex who always wanted to get in shape. Every January, he'd join a gym, full of motivation, picturing himself with six-pack abs by summer. But by week 3, when the soreness set in and the early mornings felt brutal, he'd quit. Sound familiar? Most of us have been Alex at some point. But one year, something clicked. He read about the Stoics and decided to try a new approach. Instead of waiting to feel ready, he set a non-negotiable rule. Go to the gym 3 times a week, no excuses. Some days, he'd drag himself there, barely awake, and do a half-hearted workout. Other days, he'd push harder. But he kept showing up. Months later, he wasn't just stronger physically, he was stronger mentally. He'd built a habit, a system, a way of life. That's discipline. Showing up when it's boring, when it's hard, when no one's clapping. The Stoics didn't care about feelings, they cared about reason. Your emotions will lie to you. They'll tell you to stay in bed because you're tired, to skip the workout because you're sore, to put off your goals because you're not in the mood. But emotions are like waves. They come and go, crashing and receding. Discipline is the shore, steady and unmoved. Marcus Aurelius didn't rule Rome because he felt like it every day. He did it because he knew his duty. You don't need to feel like a hero to act like one, you just need to act. And every time you do, you prove something to yourself. You prove you're reliable. You prove you're capable. You prove that your word to yourself matters. That's where self-trust is born, and self-trust is the foundation of everything. Confidence, resilience, freedom. This doesn't mean you ignore your emotions. The Stoics weren't robots. They felt fear, sadness, anger just like we do. But they refused to let those feelings drive the chariot. Imagine your mind as a team of horses. Your emotions are the wild ones, pulling in every direction. Discipline is the reins, guiding them toward where you want to go. Take a woman named Lisa, who wanted to go back to school after years of raising kids. The idea terrified her. She'd be older than her classmates, out of practice with studying, and juggling family life on top of it. Some days she felt like giving up before she even started. But she made a rule. Every day, she'd spend 30 minutes studying, no matter what. Some nights she was exhausted, barely able to focus. But she kept her promise. Over time, those 30-minute sessions turned into a degree, a career, a life she never thought possible. Her emotions screamed at her to stop, but her discipline whispered, keep going. And that whisper won. Discipline isn't about punishment or perfection. It's about freedom. It's about building a life where you don't need to wait for the stars to align to make progress. It's about knowing that you can show up, rain or shine, and move one step closer to your goals. The Stoics believed that true power lies in consistency, in the small, unglamorous acts that no one sees. It's not about running faster than everyone else. It's about running your race day after day until you look back and realize how far you've come. Every time you choose discipline over motivation, you're not just building habits, you're building yourself. You're becoming someone who doesn't bend to every whim, who doesn't crumble under pressure, who doesn't need a pep talk to keep going. The world will tell you to chase motivation, to wait for the perfect moment. Social media will flood you with clips that promise to ignite your fire. But the Stoics knew better. They knew that real strength isn't ignited, it's cultivated. It's not a flame that flickers. It's a forge that endures. When you lean on discipline, you don't need to wait for inspiration. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to start. And every time you do, you cast a vote for the person you're becoming. Someone steady, someone strong, someone unstoppable. But discipline alone isn't enough if you're fighting the wrong battles. The enemy within doesn't just tempt you with laziness. It seduces you with comfort, pulling you away from the very challenges that make you grow. That's where the Stoics point us to the next truth. One that flips our love of ease upside down and shows us why struggle is the real path to strength. The resistance of comfort. There's a moment every day when the world feels soft and inviting, like a warm blanket on a cold morning. Your bed calls you to linger, your couch begs for another hour of scrolling, your kitchen tempts you with easy snacks over a proper meal. It's comfort, that siren song whispering, "You've earned this. Relax. You don't need to push so hard." But here's the truth the Stoics knew like the weight of their own bones. Comfort is not your friend. It's your quietest enemy. It doesn't shout or threaten. It seduces, lulling you into a haze where your edge dulls, your resilience fades, and your potential slips through your fingers like sand. The Stoics warned that too much ease is a slow poison, eroding the very strength you need to face life's storms. But when you choose discomfort, when you lean into the hard, the uncertain, the unfamiliar, you forge a mind and spirit ready for anything. In the battle of you versus you, comfort is resistance in disguise, and breaking free is how you become unbreakable. Comfort is deceptive because it feels so right. After a long day, who doesn't want to sink into a recliner, fire up a streaming service, and let the world fade away? It's not just physical. It's mental, emotional, even spiritual. It's the urge to avoid the tough conversation, to skip the workout, to put off the dream because today feels too heavy. The Stoics didn't hate pleasure. They weren't ascetics living in caves. But they saw luxury and ease for what they were, traps. They knew that the more you lean into comfort, the softer you become, not just in body, but in will. Think about a knife left unused in a drawer. Over time, it doesn't just gather dust. It rusts. Its edge, once sharp enough to cut through anything, grows blunt. That's what comfort does to you. Convinces you that you're resting when you're really rusting, that you're recharging when you're really retreating. Picture a guy named Tom, a middle-aged office worker in suburban America. He's got a decent job, a family, a routine. Every evening, he comes home, grabs a beer, and settles into his favorite armchair to watch sports. It's comfortable, predictable, safe. But deep down, Tom feels a gnawing emptiness. He used to dream of running a marathon, of learning to play guitar, of writing stories like the ones he loved as a kid. But those dreams feel distant now, buried under years of, "I'll do it tomorrow." Comfort told him he deserved to relax, that he'd earned his rest after long workdays. And he believed it until one day he looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the man staring back. Not because of his age or his waistline, but because of the spark he'd let fade. The Stoics would look at Tom and say, "Comfort isn't your reward, it's your cage. Break out or it'll hold you forever." The danger of comfort is that it's not neutral. It's active, working against you every time you choose it over growth. It's the extra snooze that steals your morning, the just one more episode that eats your evening, the "I'll start Monday" that delays your life. Every indulgence chips away at your resilience, making you less prepared for the challenges that life will throw at you, whether you're ready or not. The Stoics understood that life isn't a smooth ride. It's a series of storms, big and small. A lost job, a health scare, a broken relationship. These aren't possibilities. They're certainties. And when they hit, comfort won't save you. It'll leave you defenseless, like a house built on sand when the floods come. But discomfort, that's the solid ground. It's the training that builds walls no storm can topple. Take a woman named Maria, who grew up in a tough neighborhood where comfort was a luxury she rarely knew. As a kid, she walked miles to school, helped her mom clean houses after class, and studied by candlelight when the power went out. Those hardships weren't fun, but they shaped her. When she became an adult, she landed a corporate job and a cozy apartment. Comfort at last. But instead of sinking into it, she kept pushing herself. She woke up early to run, took night classes to learn new skills, and volunteered on weekends. Why? Because she knew comfort could make her soft, and she refused to lose the grit that got her this far. When her company downsized and she lost her job, Maria didn't panic. She leaned on the resilience she'd built, the discipline she'd honed. Within months, she'd started her own business, not because she was lucky, but because she'd trained herself to thrive in discomfort. The Stoics would smile at Maria. They'd see a soul who understood that ease weakens, but struggle strengthens. Choosing discomfort doesn't mean living like a monk or punishing yourself. It's about embracing the things that scare you, challenge you, make you grow. It's signing up for that public speaking class even though your stomach churns at the thought. It's saying no to the extra slice of pizza because you promised yourself you'd eat better. It's getting up when you'd rather stay down, moving forward when you'd rather hide. These choices aren't flashy. They're quiet, often invisible. No one's going to cheer when you take a cold shower to wake up your senses or when you sit down to journal instead of zoning out. But every time you choose the harder path, you're building something no one can take away. A mind that doesn't flinch, a spirit that doesn't fold. You're preparing yourself not just for the life you want, but for the life you'll inevitably face. The Stoics believed that discomfort is a teacher, not a tyrant. It shows you what you're made of, not to break you, but to build you. Every time you step into it, you're not just surviving, you're sharpening. You're proving to yourself that you can handle more than you thought, that you're tougher than your fears. And that proof is like gold. It's the confidence that comes from knowing you didn't back down, that you didn't let comfort win. The world can be unpredictable, unfair, even cruel. But when you've trained yourself to embrace the hard stuff, you walk through it all with your head high. You become someone who doesn't just endure life, you shape it. But choosing discomfort is only half the battle. It's not enough to push yourself if you don't know who you're pushing to become. That's where the Stoics point us to a deeper truth, one that anchors every choice you make in the person you're building, brick by brick, day by day. Identity is everything. Who are you really? Not your name, your job, or the face you show the world. Not the likes on your latest post or the compliments you chase. Who are you when the lights go out, when the noise fades, when it's just you and the mirror of your own mind? The Stoics had an answer, as sharp and clear as a blade. You are what you repeatedly do. Your identity isn't a gift dropped in your lap at birth, nor is it a label the world gets to pin on you. It's a creation, sculpted by every choice, every habit, every moment you decide to rise or retreat. In the battle of you versus you, identity is the prize, the North Star, the one thing that makes every struggle worth it. The Stoics believe that aligning your actions with your highest self isn't just a goal. It's the only way to live a life that's truly yours. Identity is fluid, alive, always in motion. It's not a stone tablet carved at the start of your life, unchangeable and fixed. It's clay in your hands, shaped by what you do when no one's watching. Every time you hit the gym instead of the couch, you're molding a stronger version of yourself. Every time you speak up when you'd rather stay silent, you're carving out courage. Every time you choose honesty over ease, you're etching integrity into your core. The Stoics didn't waste time chasing applause or titles. They chased character. They knew that who you are inside is the only thing that matters, because it's the one thing no one can strip away. Not failure, not loss, not even time itself. Think about a kid named Jamal, growing up in a rough part of Chicago. He saw two paths around him, one leading to the streets, where quick money and trouble waited, and another, less certain, towards something better. His mom worked double shifts and always told him, "You decide who you are, every single day." Jamal took that to heart. He wasn't the smartest in school, but he stayed late to study. He wasn't the strongest on the basketball court, but he practiced until his hands bled. When his friends laughed at him for turning down easy hustles, he kept walking. Why? Because he saw himself as more than his circumstances. He saw himself as someone who worked hard, who stayed true, who didn't quit. Every choice he made was a brick in the foundation of that identity, and by the time he graduated high school, he'd earned a scholarship to college. Jamal didn't just change his life, he changed who he was because he understood what the Stoics did. You become what you do over and over again. The power of identity lies in its self-fulfilling nature. If you see yourself as lazy, you'll act lazy. If you see yourself as disciplined, you'll show up even when it's hard. The Stoics called this living deliberately, choosing every action with the question, "Is this who I want to be?" It's why Marcus Aurelius wrote his Meditations, not for fame, but to remind himself who he was striving to become. A man of wisdom, duty, and strength, even when the weight of an empire pressed down on him. He wasn't perfect, and neither are you. But perfection isn't the point, progress is. Every day, you're casting votes for the person you'll be tomorrow. The question is, who are you voting for? Consider a woman named Claire, a single mom who always felt like she was falling short. She juggled work, kids, and bills, but never felt like she was enough. Not a good enough mom, not successful enough, not strong enough. One day, she started a small habit. Every night, she'd write down 3 things she did well that day. Maybe she made her kids laugh, finished a project at work, or chose a salad over fast food. At first, it felt silly, but over time, something shifted. She started seeing herself differently. Not as a failure, but as someone who kept going, who cared deeply, who was trying her best. That shift in identity changed her actions. She started saying no to things that drained her, standing up for herself at work, even running a 5K with her kids cheering her on. Claire didn't find her identity. She built it one small choice at a time, until the woman in the mirror matched the woman she wanted to be. The Stoics knew that identity isn't shaped by what you say or what you want. It's shaped by what you do when it's hard, when it's boring, when no one's looking. It's the late nights when you keep working after everyone's gone to bed. It's the early mornings when you lace up your shoes even though you'd rather sleep. It's the quiet moments when you choose to listen to your values instead of your impulses. These aren't just actions, they're declarations. They're you telling the world and yourself, "This is who I am." And the more you act in alignment with that vision, the stronger it becomes, like a muscle growing with every rep. This is why the battle of you versus you is never about external wins. It's about internal becoming. The Stoics didn't care about crowns or riches. They cared about character, because character is what carries you through life's highs and lows. When you build an identity rooted in discipline, courage, and integrity, you don't just survive setbacks, you rise above them. You don't just chase goals, you become someone who doesn't need to chase, because you already are what you sought. That's the Stoic secret. The real victory isn't out there. It's in here, in the person you're shaping with every choice you make. But building that identity isn't enough if you don't test it. Life has a way of throwing mirrors in your path, moments that show you who you really are. That's where the Stoics turn our eyes to adversity, not as a curse, but as the ultimate proving ground for everything you've built. The mirror of adversity. Life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them. A job loss that blindsides you, a betrayal that cuts deep, a dream that crumbles just as you reach for it. In those moments, it's easy to feel like the universe is against you, like you've been singled out for punishment. But the Stoics, those ancient sages who stared life's chaos in the eye, saw something different. They saw adversity not as a curse, but as a mirror, a brutally honest reflection of who you are beneath the surface. Marcus Aurelius, a man who led an empire through plague and war, wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. In the battle of you versus you, adversity isn't the enemy. It's the stage where your true character takes the spotlight. It doesn't shape you, it reveals you. And when you face it head-on, it offers you the chance to grow into someone stronger, wiser, and more alive than you ever thought possible. Adversity doesn't knock politely. It crashes through your door uninvited, demanding an answer to a question you might not be ready to face. Who are you when things fall apart? It's not interested in your plans, your excuses, or the image you project to the world. It strips away the fluff, the likes on your posts, the titles on your resume, the stories you tell yourself about who you are. What's left is raw, unfiltered truth. Are you someone who crumbles under pressure, or someone who stands tall? Do you lash out in anger, or do you find calm in the storm? The Stoics believe that challenges don't create your character. They uncover it, like wind sweeping sand from a buried statue. Every hardship is a test, not of your luck, but of your preparation, your values, your grit. Imagine a woman named Karen, a small-town teacher who loved her job. She poured her heart into her students, staying late to help them, decorating her classroom with bright posters, believing she'd teach forever. Then came the budget cuts and her position was gone. Overnight, her world turned upside down. No income, no purpose, no plan. At first, she was angry, then lost, wondering why this happened to her. But one day, she remembered a quote she'd once shared with her students. "You don't rise to the occasion. You fall to the level of your training." It wasn't stoic, but it echoed their wisdom. Karen realized she'd been training her whole life, not just to teach, but to adapt, to care, to keep going. So she dusted off her resume, took a part-time job at a community center, and started tutoring kids on the side. It wasn't glamorous, and it wasn't easy, but it was her answer to adversity's question, "Who are you?" She was someone who didn't quit, and that answer changed her life. The Stoics didn't see obstacles as interruptions. They saw them as the path itself. Marcus Aurelius didn't wish for a life without problems. He welcomed them as opportunities to practice patience, courage, wisdom. When a war broke out, he didn't curse the gods, he led his troops. When betrayal stung, he didn't sulk, he forgave. He knew that life's challenges weren't detours. They were the road to becoming the man he wanted to be. This mindset flips everything we're taught. We grow up thinking success is a straight line, that obstacles are signs we're doing something wrong. But the Stoics would laugh at that. They'd say success is the obstacle because it's in wrestling with the hard stuff that you discover what you're made of. It's not about avoiding pain. It's about embracing it as your teacher. Think about a guy named Chris, a veteran who came back from deployment with scars no one could see. PTSD made every day a battle. Loud noises sent his heart racing. Crowds felt like traps. Sleep was a stranger. He could have given up and no one would have blamed him. But Chris decided to face his pain like a stoic. He started small. A daily walk to clear his head. A journal to untangle his thoughts. A support group where he forced himself to talk. Some days he wanted to hide, to numb it all with a drink. But he kept showing up. Adversity was his mirror, showing him not just his wounds, but his strength. Over time, those walks turned into runs, those journal entries became a blog, and that support group became a community he helped build. Chris didn't erase his struggles. He used them to become someone new, someone who could look in the mirror and say, "I'm still here, and I'm stronger for it." Adversity's power lies in its honesty. It doesn't let you hide behind excuses or illusions. It asks you to prove what you're made of, not with words, but with actions. When you lose something you love, do you cling to bitterness? Or do you find gratitude for what remains? When you fail, do you wallow in shame? Or do you learn and try again? The Stoics believed that every challenge is a classroom, every setback a lesson. It's not about pretending everything's fine. It's about finding meaning in the mess. It's about realizing that the storm isn't here to drown you. It's here to teach you how to swim. And when you learn to swim, you don't just survive, you thrive. You become someone who doesn't fear the next wave, because you know you've faced worse and come out stronger. This isn't about being unbreakable. The Stoics weren't superheroes, they were human just like you. They felt fear, doubt, pain. But they refused to let those feelings define them. They chose to act in alignment with their values, even when it hurt, even when it was messy. That's what adversity does. It gives you a chance to write your own story, to show yourself who you can be. Every time you face a challenge and keep going, you're not just overcoming it, you're building yourself. You're adding another layer to your resilience, another chapter to your courage. And that's the gift of adversity. It doesn't just show you who you are, it gives you the tools to become more. But strength in adversity is only part of the equation. Facing life's storms builds your character, but what keeps it steady? That's where the Stoics turn us inward, to a quiet, unshakable force that grows from the promises you keep to yourself. Self-respect through self-discipline. In a world obsessed with applause, likes, follows, promotions, it's easy to think your worth comes from what others think of you. But the Stoics, those quiet giants of the soul, knew better. They taught that true confidence, the kind no one can take away, doesn't come from a crowd cheering your name. It comes from a far more private victory. The moment you look yourself in the eye and know you kept your word. Self-respect isn't bought or borrowed, it's earned, forged in the furnace of self-discipline, where you prove to yourself again and again that you are someone who shows up, who follows through, who lives by principles even when no one's watching. In the battle of you versus you, self-discipline is the cornerstone of integrity, the quiet power that builds a life you can stand tall in. Self-respect is a rare currency. You can't fake it, and you can't find it in a mirror that reflects someone else's approval. It's born in the moments when you do the right thing, not because it's easy or because you'll get a pat on the back, but because you said you would. It's the early morning when you drag yourself out of bed to run, even though every muscle begs for rest. It's the late night when you finish that report, not because your boss is breathing down your neck, but because you promised yourself you'd deliver. These aren't grand gestures. They're small, gritty choices that no one sees but you. And that's why they matter. The Stoics believed that your opinion of yourself is the only one that counts, because it's the one you live with every second of every day. Picture a woman named Laura, a graphic designer who always felt like she was chasing someone else's validation. She'd stay up tweaking designs, not because they needed it, but because she worried her clients wouldn't like her work. She'd say yes to every project, even when it meant missing family dinners, because she thought it'd make her successful. But success didn't feel like enough. She felt hollow. One day, she stumbled across a Stoic idea. Live for your own approval, not the world's. It hit her like a lightning bolt. She started setting boundaries, small ones at first, like leaving her desk at 6 p.m. to cook dinner with her kids. She made a rule to sketch one personal piece a week, not for clients, but for herself. Each time she kept those promises, she felt a quiet pride grow inside her. It wasn't loud or flashy, but it was real. Laura wasn't just designing art. She was designing herself, and for the first time, she liked who she saw. Self-discipline isn't about being perfect or punishing yourself. It's about trust that you'll do what you say, that you'll honor the commitments you make to your own heart. Every broken promise, no matter how small, chips away at that trust. Skip the workout you planned, and it's not just a missed session. It's a signal to yourself that your word is negotiable. Push off the book you meant to read, and it's not just a page unturned, it's a vote for a weaker version of you. But every time you follow through, you're building something solid, something unshakable. You're telling yourself, I'm reliable, I'm capable, I'm worth it. And that's where self-respect takes root, not in what you achieve, but in who you become through the act of showing up. Think about a guy named Mike, a recovering addict who rebuilt his life one day at a time. When he hit rock bottom, he didn't trust himself to make it through an hour without a drink. But he started small. He promised himself he'd go to a meeting every day, no matter what. Some days, he'd sit in the back, barely listening, fighting the urge to walk out. But he stayed. Then he added another promise. Call his sponsor when things got tough. Then another, write down one thing he was grateful for each night. Those tiny acts of discipline weren't just habits, they were lifelines. They showed Mike he could trust himself again, that he could be someone who didn't break under pressure. Years later, clean and sober, he didn't just have a new life. He had a new self, one he respected because he'd earned it, step by painful step. The Stoics would have seen Mike as a warrior, not for his sobriety alone, but for the discipline that made it possible. The Stoics knew that discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you want to be. It's not about rigid rules or denying yourself joy. It's about freedom. When you can count on yourself, you don't need the world to prop you up. You don't need a boss to tell you you're good enough or a partner to make you feel whole. You know it because you've proven it, not with words, but with actions. That's what integrity means. Living in alignment with your values, not because someone's watching, but because you are. You're the judge who never looks away, the audience who sees every choice. And when you live in a way that makes that judge nod in approval, you've won something no one can touch. This kind of discipline builds a confidence that's quiet but fierce. It's not the loud swagger of someone craving attention. It's the steady calm of someone who knows their worth. That's why the Stoics didn't chase external validation. They knew that praise fades, awards gather dust, but self-respect endures. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you're adding another brick to that foundation. And when life tests you, as it always will, you'll stand firm, not because the world believes in you, but because you believe in yourself. But even self-respect can falter when you measure it against others. That's where the Stoics warn us about a trap we all face, one that steals our peace and pulls us away from the battle within. The prison of comparison. You're scrolling through your phone, and there it is. A friend's new car, a colleague's promotion, a stranger's perfect vacation glowing on your screen. For a moment, your life feels small, like you're falling behind in a race you didn't even know you were running. That sting, that quiet ache. It's comparison, the thief that slips into your mind and steals your peace before you even notice. In a world that bombards us with everyone else's highlight reels, it's easy to measure your worth against their wins, to feel like you're not enough unless you're outpacing someone else. But the Stoics, those clear-eyed philosophers who saw through life's illusions, had a warning. Comparison is a prison you build for yourself. They taught that the only yardstick that matters is your own progress, not the polished lives of others. In the battle of you versus you, breaking free from comparison is how you reclaim your power and find the freedom to become your best self. Comparison is a trap because it's never fair. You don't see the full story, just the parts others choose to show. That friend with the new car? You don't see the debt they're juggling. That colleague with the corner office? You don't see the nights they spent doubting themselves. The Stoics, like Seneca, reminded us that looking outward for validation is a losing game. It's like trying to navigate a ship by watching someone else's sails. You'll end up lost, or worse, crashed on the rocks. The only course worth charting is your own. They urged us to measure ourselves against who we were yesterday. Not our neighbor, not our rival, not the curated lives flashing across our feeds. Because when you compare, you're not just judging your progress, you're handing over your happiness to forces you can't control. Picture a woman named Rachel, a young entrepreneur in a bustling city. She launched her bakery with big dreams, pouring her heart into every cupcake and croissant. But every time she checked social media, she saw other bakers with thousands of followers, sleek storefronts, and viral recipes. Her cozy shop felt like a failure in comparison. She'd lie awake wondering why she wasn't further along, why her life didn't look like theirs. It wasn't just envy. It was a weight, dragging her down, making every step feel heavier. One day, she stumbled across a Stoic idea. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Clicked. Rachel realized she wasn't losing because others were winning. She was losing because she was fighting the wrong battle. She started focusing on her own progress, tweaking her recipes, greeting her regulars with a smile, saving for a new oven. She stopped checking her competitors' pages and started asking, "Am I better than I was last week?" That shift didn't just save her business. It saved her peace. Her bakery grew not because she outdid anyone else, but because she outdid herself. The Stoics knew that comparison thrives on scarcity, on the idea that there's only so much success to go around. It whispers that someone else's win is your loss, that their light dims yours. But that's a lie. Life isn't a zero-sum game. Someone else's promotion doesn't make your work less valuable. Someone else's marathon doesn't make your morning jog less meaningful. The Stoics would tell you to celebrate others, not because it's noble, but because it frees you. When you stop seeing others as yardsticks, you start seeing them as allies, as proof that growth is possible. You realize that the only person you need to surpass is the one you were yesterday, the one who hesitated, who doubted, who let fear call the shots. Think about a guy named Ethan, a high school teacher who loved his job but always felt like he was coming up short. His brother was a tech mogul, his best friend a lawyer with a big house, and Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that he'd missed some cosmic mark. He'd watch their lives and think, why didn't I aim higher? It wasn't until he read Epictetus. There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will, that he saw the trap. Ethan started tracking his own wins. The student who thanked him for believing in her, the lesson plan that sparked a debate, the moments he went home knowing he'd made a difference. He wasn't rich or famous, but he was growing kinder, wiser, more present. Comparison had locked him in a cage of not enough, but focusing on his own path set him free. He didn't need to be his brother or his friend. He needed to be a better Ethan, and that was enough. Comparison doesn't just steal your peace, it steals your power. Every minute you spend measuring yourself against someone else is a minute you're not investing in your own growth. It's like running a race while looking over your shoulder. You'll stumble, slow down, or crash. The Stoics taught that your energy is finite, and where you direct it shapes your life. When you focus on others, you're giving them the wheel, letting their choices dictate your self-worth. But when you focus on you, your effort, your progress, your values, you're the one driving. You're building a life that's yours, not a shadow of someone else's. And that's where real freedom lies, in knowing that your worth isn't relative, that it's rooted in the work you do to become the person you're meant to be. This isn't about ignoring the world or pretending you're above it. The Stoics were practical. They lived in bustling cities, led armies, faced rivals. They knew you can't escape comparison entirely, but you can choose not to let it rule you. You can train yourself to pause when that pang hits, to ask, is this about them, or is it about me? You can redirect your gaze inward, to the small, steady steps you're taking toward your own goals. Every time you do, you're breaking the bars of comparison's prison, stepping into a life where your progress is the only score that matters. You're not running anyone else's race, you're running yours, and that's the one that counts. But even when you escape comparison, there's another trap waiting. The temptation to blame the world for your struggles. That's where the Stoics offer their most radical lesson, one that hands you the keys to your own destiny, ownership of your fate. Life doesn't always play fair. The promotion you worked for goes to someone else. The car breaks down the day you need it most. The dream you poured everything into slips away. In those moments, it's natural to point fingers at your boss, at bad luck, at the universe itself. But the Stoics, those masters of inner freedom, saw through this instinct. They taught that blaming the world keeps you chained, trapped in a story where you're powerless. True liberation comes from owning what you can control, your actions, your attitude, your decisions, and letting go of the rest. In the battle of you versus you, ownership is your greatest weapon, the key that unlocks a life where you're not a victim, but the architect of your own fate. Ownership sounds simple, but it's radical. It means taking full responsibility for your response to life, no matter what it throws at you. The Stoics, like Epictetus, hammered this home. You may not control the events, but you can control how you react to them. You can't stop the rain, but you can choose to carry an umbrella or dance in the downpour. You can't force someone to love you, but you can choose to love yourself enough to move on. This isn't about ignoring reality. It's about claiming your power within it. When you blame external forces, you're handing over your freedom, letting circumstances decide who you are. But when you own your response, you're writing your own story, one where you're the hero, not the bystander. Consider a woman named Aisha, a single mom who lost her job during a recession. Bills piled up, and every day felt like a fight to keep her head above water. She could have blamed the economy, her ex, the system, and part of her wanted to. But Aisha had read about the Stoics, about their belief that freedom lies in controlling what you can. She couldn't change the job market, but she could change her approach. She started waking up early to search for opportunities, took online courses to learn new skills, and reached out to old contacts for leads. Some days, rejection stung and fear crept in. But she kept going, not because she felt strong, but because she chose to act strong. Within a year, she landed a better job, not because luck turned her way, but because she owned her path. Aisha didn't just find work, she found power. The kind that comes from knowing you're not at life's mercy. The Stoics knew that victimhood is seductive because it's easy. It asks nothing of you, no effort, no accountability, no courage. It lets you sit back and say, if only things were different, I'd be happy. But that's a lie, and it's a heavy one. Every time you blame, you're building walls around your potential, convincing yourself you're helpless. The Stoics saw this as self-inflicted slavery, a choice to stay small when you were born to stand tall. Ownership, on the other hand, is hard. It demands that you look in the mirror and say, this is on me. Not the outcome, but how I handle it. It's not about guilt or shame, it's about agency. It's about realizing that even when life deals you a bad hand, you can still play it better than anyone else. Think about a guy named Lucas, a college dropout who grew up hearing he'd never amount to much. His dad left when he was young, his school wasn't great, and he carried those scars into adulthood, blaming them for every missed opportunity. He'd scroll through job boards, thinking, if I'd had a better start, I'd be somewhere by now. But one day, he heard a Stoic idea that stopped him cold. You are responsible for everything within your control. Lucas realized he couldn't change his past, but he could change his present. He started small, reading books from the library, practicing coding on a borrowed laptop, showing up to free workshops. It wasn't glamorous and it wasn't fast, but it was his. When he finally landed a tech job, it wasn't because his circumstances magically improved. It was because he owned his choices. Lucas didn't erase his struggles. He used them as fuel, proof that he could rise no matter what. Ownership doesn't mean you control everything. The Stoics were realists. They knew life is messy, unfair, unpredictable. You can't stop a storm from hitting your house, but you can rebuild stronger. You can't make everyone like you, but you can choose to like yourself. This mindset is freedom because it puts you in the driver's seat. You're not waiting for the world to fix itself, for luck to turn, for someone to save you. You're saving yourself every day with every decision you make. And that's what makes it so powerful. It's yours always, no matter what the world does. The beauty of ownership is that it compounds. Every time you choose responsibility over blame, you're building a muscle, resilience, clarity, strength. You're teaching yourself that you're not a leaf in the wind, tossed by every gust. You're a tree, rooted in your own choices, bending but never breaking. The Stoics believed this was the path to a good life. Not a life without pain, but a life where pain doesn't define you. When you own your fate, you're not just surviving, you're shaping, creating, becoming. You're living proof that the world doesn't have to change for you to be free. You only have to change yourself. But ownership is just the beginning. The Stoics knew that even the strongest resolve faces a final challenge, one that never truly ends. It's the truth that ties every lesson together, the heartbeat of the battle within. The endless battle. You wake up to a new day, the sun rising, your alarm buzzing, the world humming with possibility. For a moment, you believe today might be different, that the doubts, fears, and hesitations that shadowed you yesterday will stay behind. But as you step into the rhythm of life, they're there again. The whisper urging you to procrastinate, the weight of fatigue pulling you toward ease, the flicker of fear questioning your worth. You might think this is a flaw, a sign that you're not strong enough, not fixed enough, not there yet. But the Stoics, those timeless guides who wrestled with the human condition, saw it differently. They knew the battle of you versus you never ends, not because you're broken, but because you're human. Victory isn't a finish line you cross once and for all. It's a way of living, a daily choice to lean towards strength over weakness, courage over fear, growth over stagnation. In this endless struggle, the Stoics found not a burden, but a gift, the process of evolving into your best self, one relentless, beautiful step at a time. This battle is endless because life itself is endless, not in years, but in depth. Every morning brings a new chance to choose, and every choice brings a new challenge. The Stoics didn't promise a day when doubt would vanish or fear would fall silent. They promised something better: the strength to meet those voices with clarity, to hear them without obeying them, to rise above them again and again. Marcus Aurelius, scribbling in his tent amid war and chaos, didn't write meditations to declare himself perfect. He wrote to remind himself to keep fighting, not against the world, but against the part of himself that wanted to give up, to complain, to shrink. He knew that being human means wrestling with yourself forever, not to win once, but to grow always. That's the Stoic secret. The struggle isn't your enemy. It's your forge, shaping you into someone stronger with every swing of the hammer. Picture a man named Daniel, a middle-aged carpenter in a small American town. He'd spent years building homes, his hands calloused from saws and hammers, but inside, he carried a quieter battle. He dreamed of opening his own workshop, crafting furniture that told stories. But every time he thought about starting, that inner voice crept in: "You're too old to change. You're not a businessman. What if you fail?" Some days he listened, sticking to his safe routine. Other days he fought back, sketching designs after work, saving a few dollars, reading about small businesses. It wasn't a straight path. There were weeks he doubted, months he stalled. But Daniel kept choosing to try, even when it felt pointless. Years later, his workshop wasn't just a place for wood and nails. It was proof that the battle never ends, but every choice to fight makes you more. The Stoics would see Daniel not as a man who won, but as a man who kept becoming, and that's what matters. The endless battle isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. You'll stumble. You'll choose the couch over the gym, the scroll over the book, the excuse over the effort. The Stoics didn't expect you to be flawless. They expected you to get back up. They knew that every fall is a lesson, every misstep a chance to learn. Think about a woman named Sophia, a college student who struggled with self-doubt. She'd freeze during exams, convinced she wasn't smart enough, and her grades suffered. She could have given up, told herself it was just who she was. But she remembered something her dad said: "You don't have to be the best. You just have to keep going." It echoed the Stoics, so she tried it. She started studying 1 hour a day, no matter how overwhelmed she felt. Some nights, she barely understood the material, but she showed up. By her senior year, she wasn't just passing. She was thriving, not because doubt disappeared, but because she'd learned to fight through it. Sophia's story isn't about a single victory. It's about 1,000 small ones, each one proof that the battle is worth it. What makes this struggle endless is also what makes it beautiful. You're never done growing. The Stoics believed that life is a process, not a destination. There's no moment when you'll stand on a peak, declare yourself complete, and rest forever. That's not failure, it's freedom. It means you're always capable of more, always able to stretch beyond what you thought possible. Every doubt you face is a chance to choose courage. Every fear is an invitation to choose faith. Every temptation to quit is an opportunity to choose grit. The Stoics saw this as the rhythm of life: effort and rest, falling and rising, breaking and building. Victory lies not in silencing the inner critic, but in becoming so practiced at answering it that it loses its grip. It's not about ending the fight. It's about mastering it, so that each round leaves you stronger, sharper, closer to the person you were born to be. This battle is uniquely yours. No one else can fight it, and no one else can claim its rewards. The world will throw distractions your way: headlines, trends, noise, but none of that matters as much as the quiet war inside you. Think about a guy named Malik, a chef who worked grueling hours in a busy restaurant. He loved cooking, but the stress wore him down, and he'd come home questioning his path. Why wasn't he further along? Why wasn't life easier? One night, he read Seneca: "You have power over your mind, not outside events." It hit him hard. Malik realized his real fight wasn't with his boss or the long shifts. It was with himself, with the part that wanted to give up when things got tough. He started small, taking 5 minutes each morning to breathe, to remind himself why he loved his craft. He kept cooking, kept learning, kept choosing to show up. Years later, he opened his own food truck, not because life got easier, but because he got stronger. Malik's battle didn't end, it evolved, and so did he. The Stoics knew that this endless struggle is what makes you human. It's not a punishment, it's a privilege. It's the chance to wake up every day and decide who you'll be, to shape yourself through every choice you make. It's why they didn't fear the fight, they embraced it. They saw every doubt, every fear, every moment of weakness as part of the terrain, not barriers but stepping stones. When you stop searching for an end, when you stop waiting for the day when it all feels easy, you find something deeper, peace. Not the peace of a finished war, but the peace of knowing you're in the right fight, the one that matters most. You're not just surviving, you're becoming, and that's the greatest victory of all. The battle of you versus you is the story of your life. Not a chapter, but the whole book, written in the ink of your choices, your struggles, your triumphs. The Stoics didn't leave us with a map to a perfect life. They left us with a compass, pointing inward to the only place where true freedom lies. Your mind, your will, your heart. From the enemy within to the endless battle, every lesson weaves together into a single truth. You are both the warrior and the war, the sculptor and the stone. Every doubt you face, every choice you make, every moment you choose to rise is a stroke of the chisel, carving you into someone stronger, wiser, more alive. This journey isn't about arriving. It's about becoming, about embracing the endless process of growing into the person you were always meant to be. You don't need to be fearless to win this battle. You don't need to be flawless or certain or better than anyone else. You just need to show up, to choose strength one more time, to keep fighting even when the odds feel stacked against you. The Stoics believed that the good life isn't one without pain or struggle. It's one where you face those things with courage, with discipline, with a heart that refuses to quit. That's the legacy you build, not for the world, but for yourself. It's the quiet pride of knowing you didn't back down, that you lived true to your values, that you became someone you respect. And in that, you find a freedom no one can take away, a freedom that shines brighter than any trophy, any praise, any fleeting win. In today's world, where screens scream for your attention and life moves faster than you can think, the Stoic path is more vital than ever. Slow down, breathe, focus on what you can control, your effort, your attitude, your choices, and let go of the rest. The noise of social media, the pressure to keep up, the endless chase for more. It's all a distraction from the real work, building yourself. Make one small promise to yourself each day. Read a page, take a walk, sit in silence and keep it. Those tiny acts of discipline will anchor you when the world feels chaotic. Remember that you don't need to be perfect, just persistent. Compare yourself only to who you were yesterday and celebrate every step forward, no matter how small. Life is messy, but you're messier, tougher, braver, more capable than you know. Choose growth, choose awareness, choose you every single day. If this journey through the Stoic path has sparked something in you, join us at ZenLight 8 to keep exploring the battle within. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and let's walk this road together, one choice at a time. In the comments below, share your thoughts. What's one way you're choosing to fight your endless battle today? And if one word captures what you're taking away, let it be this: perspective. Drop it below, and let's inspire each other to keep growing.